Then shortly after that, I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's, weight gain, hair thinning, trouble sleeping, insomnia like crazy.
Welcome back to the Becoming MindStrong podcast. We work with a tremendous number of menopausal women, and like anything in life, we're all coming in with our own backstory, with our own struggles, with our own past. And a lot of that backstory, a lot of that individualization comes from what we're all dealing with when it comes to our own health. We have a lot of women that come to us having had hysterectomies and menopause was medically induced. We have a lot of women with dietary restrictions. I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, I'm gluten free. We have a lot of women with thyroid issues. Hypo and hyperthyroidism is rampant in the world of menopause. And one of the big ones that we see time and time again is Hashimoto's. We get the question, will this work for me if I have Hashimoto's? So I am so excited for you to check out today's interview because when Tracy came to us, Tracy has Hashimoto's. And as she puts it, after being diagnosed, she spent 12 years chasing what she calls internet fixes, going from diet to diet and program to program and throwing money down the drain, and nothing was actually working. And what I love about Tracy's story, as is the case for so many of our coaches at this point in the story of MindStrong, is when she found Ignite, it changed her life so dramatically that once again she wanted to shout it from the rooftops to every woman out there, specifically women with Hashimoto's. This works. Biology is always going to biology. Science is always going to science. So Tracy not only became a graduate of our Ignite program, she has now down the road become a coach for MindStrong. And that's my favorite place to find coaches because I always tell people, I can train you in all things macros, mindset, menopause, metabolisms, all the M's. But there is a spark that when this changes your life, you can't teach that spark. And that's what Tracy has after years of struggling, especially having Hashimoto's, to now the success she has seen on the other side. So I hope you enjoy Tracy's story of healing her metabolism, getting a metabolism that's on absolute fire with Hashimoto's. Check it out. So we have recent Ignite alum Tracy with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Tracy, and I can't wait to chat with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So let's go back to the beginning, my favorite place to start. Can you tell us a little bit about pre-Ignite, Tracy? What was going on physically, mentally, emotionally that got you to a place of finding Mind Strong?
So it has been a journey of about 12 years. I'm currently 57 and I went through menopause pretty early at 45. So that was very surprising to me because I never really had any of the typical um, symptoms that you have knowing that menopause is coming on. I went to my doctor's appointment thinking it was just a normal yearly checkup, and she's like, "You're through menopause." And I was like, what? I mean, I guess I kind of maybe felt a little warm every now and then, sort of like a baby hot flash, but I was really shocked. So that kind of, I think, was the start of a lot of my struggles because then shortly after that, I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's. So I think it was just the only thing I can think of like a perfect storm. It just all kind of came together and weight gain, hair thinning, trouble sleeping, insomnia like crazy. And it was a lot of, gosh, I mean, 12 years ago, nobody was talking about anything. I'm just like on the internet all the time. I got diagnosed with Hashimoto because I found an article in a magazine that said, if you have thyroid issues, ask your primary care to check you for antibodies that could be an autoimmune. So I just so happened to do that from a magazine article, and lo and behold, through the roof with Hashimoto. So yeah, so then it's been a whole journey of what do you do for Hashimoto? What do you do for menopause? And I have over the years gone to the internet and interested in other sources that really took my time, my financial resources, my energy, my emotional, tank was dropping because nothing worked. Nothing worked. And then, I'm on my Facebook scrolling and you pop up. And you start to get leery after over a decade of all these quick fixes. So I'm listening to you and I'm like, wow, this is really making sense. This makes way more sense. And she's not trying to sell me a magic pill. She's not trying to sell me a magic supplement with everything, and I'm going to be back like a 20-year-old again. And then I played you for my husband, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, who is this woman?" I'm like, "I know, right?" So we really talked about it as a family, and we decided that this was a good fit for, and it has been. It has been a great fit. So I don't want to go on like a huge rant, but that's that's pretty much how I ended up here with you because everything you said really made sense for me. And it's working. So
Yeah. I love
thank you.
when you say it makes sense. Like that is my hands in the air hallelujah moment. Because you've heard me say a million times, this is not Rachel's 12-week diet. My superpower is education, and what I'm teaching you is biology. So when people are like, this makes sense, I'm like, thank you. That's the point. It makes sense. The work works when you do the work. So those are the magic words.
Yes.
So you get started in Ignite. You're in your initial weeks. Do you remember
Yes.
any first aha moments? Maybe this was mentally, again, emotionally, physically, but any first aha moments where you're like, wait a second, this feels different. Like this feels like it could actually work. Anything that stands out?
Yes. Yes. I got hungry.
Oh,
I
yes.
haven't been hungry. I haven't been hungry in I think years. I think I was eating such few calories.
Mhm.
And a lot of it wasn't, I was never like a huge yo-yo dieter. I was never like, counting calories and saying, oh, I have to, eat this few calories so I can try and lose this weight. It's just kind of with being a busy lifestyle that I would, go through my morning with just a cup of coffee. Then all of a sudden it's lunchtime and I'm just grabbing something small and quick at lunchtime. Then it's dinner time and, I'm having something a little more substantial at that point, but certainly not the number of calories that I was supposed to be having. And I think it was just years of that, and my metabolism, as you've described, was just completely non-existent. And when I started eating, oh my gosh, when I started eating, I was like, this is so much food. I'm eating so much. But I never felt like, yeah, like icky from it. Like if you eat a bunch of bad stuff, you feel not comfortable afterwards. I always felt very satiated and very satisfied. And I was like, this is great. And then I started feeling hungry. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know the last time I felt hungry. So that to me was a huge sign. And I started sleeping better, which was also. So those two things were things that I think I had just come accustomed to. Like I didn't even realize was my normal that wasn't normal
Yeah.
was never being hungry and not really sleeping well.
Yeah. And those two things go hand in hand for people listening who are like, I know I'm an undereater, but I'm not hungry. My answer is of course you're not, right? Like never in the
Yeah,
history of ever has someone said I'm eating 1200 calories a day and I'm starving because as you know, we have sensors in our brains and bodies whose sole job is to communicate hunger. So as
right.
pleasure seeking creatures, if we're under fueling our body for years and years and years, why would it keep pushing on the bruise? So
Yeah,
it's such a funny I throw my hands in the air every time I hear it, but in our world we celebrate hunger because that is glaring neon sign number one that your metabolism's coming back online. And what a weird thing to work in the nutrition world and celebrate that we're hungry throughout the day.
right,
Yeah.
right,
And that fuel, I mean, it goes, as you know, menopause, lack of sleep, that 1 to 3 a.m. wake up, that is, again, glaring neon sign of welcome to menopause. And that's
yeah,
happening because our cortisol is spiking too early. And one of the main focuses of this program as you're living is how do we control cortisol? And the answer has to be nutrition first. So we start getting that in check. Of course, sleep is going to start getting better. Real quickly, as a former teacher, differentiated learning is real. So if right now you're listening to this episode as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, know that it also exists in video form on YouTube. Similarly, if you're watching me right now on YouTube, know that this episode also exists as a podcast on all the platforms. So, however you take in information best, know that we've got you. The podcast exists both in podcast form and video form. We'll link both in the show notes below so you can learn however you learn best. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's so true. I don't, the 1 to 3 a.m.
Yeah. And that's one of those things, we hear time and time again. It's just like society will tell us, well, welcome to menopause. This is how your body is. And it's like, no, there is truth that this is what our body does, but that doesn't mean throw in the towel. This is it for the rest of our life, right? When we get our nutrition in check, our cortisol will come down, our sleep will get better, our hunger will flare up, our metabolism get like it's biology, right? It just makes sense. The work works when you do the work.
Yes, absolutely.
Here, this is one of my more fun questions I like to ask people, and this might have to give it some thought. If you had to put in like 1 to 3 words, maybe one if you can swing it, what word would describe pre-ignite Tracy, and
Mhm.
what word would describe Tracy now that you're learning this skill and mastering the skill and getting your metabolism back online?
Pretty for sure frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, over a decade of just because I had never had a weight issue my whole life. It was just, I never struggled with that. So it was very frustrating to have that happen and nothing change. Post is peaceful.
Mm,
I have found peace in knowing that this works, and it works in the midst of chaos because it is not. When I started with Candace, I was like, I don't know if any other folks out there feel like everything has to be like perfectly aligned where nothing's going to derail you and it's all going to go great and nothing, but that's not life, right? Like and especially I feel like for us females, we wear so many different hats. We're the caregivers and supporters, and we're, picking up the pieces all the time. And we've had a lot, multiple family crises happen in the midst of it all. But I found peace because I had my routine and I knew exactly what I needed to do instead of just, oh, well, today's out the window because it's going to be a bad day. And this is the first time for me that that has ever happened, which is great because I feel like there's always just going to be something around the corner and that's just life. And to be able to have that to rely upon, as it was almost kind of comforting. And I don't know if that makes sense,
it
but to
does.
have some part of your day that is going to be stable and predictable and controlling, you have control over it, and the rest of it can all be falling apart around you, but you have that. It's the only way I can explain that. I don't know, that might be a little. I don't know if anyone else has ever
Oh,
experienced
that
that,
makes so
but
much sense to me. The coaches and I have one of the biggest things we celebrate besides hunger in our world is when people start describing food as their anchor among chaos, because this is a common theme. And when we zoom out, well, we'll talk about this all the time in coaching meetings. Like, this is a topic that for most women, especially, feels so out of control. We've spent decades hoping, wishing, praying, guessing, is this going to work? And when we hear people on the other side, as an education based program, on the other side saying, hey, life was chaotic, life is always going to life. And
Mhm.
nutrition became my anchor. It became the one thing that I could control. We're like, can we just pause and look at what a 180 that is from our old relationship with food?
Yeah,
That is such a massive mindset shift and life shift.
yes,
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just having this conversation with someone. I think it's Tim Ferriss has a saying of you got to stop waiting for all the world's traffic lights to turn green, because that's what we do, right? I'll start when.
yes,
And it's like, yes,
yes.
that ain't how life works.
And it's solid for about maybe 2 weeks,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden here comes the yellow light, then probably a red one.
Yeah. And I love it because, this is back in the day when MindStrong was a one-woman show and I would do those initial strategy sessions. I would tell people my favorite time to work with people is when you have a vacation coming up. holiday time, like the hard times. Because if we want to walk our talk of let's make this a sustainable lifestyle,
Mhm.
anyone can put on horse blinders and be on good behavior for 12 weeks. But what happens when life lifes as it always will, right? So
Right.
let's do it at a time when life is doing its thing, but you know you have a coach who's going to hold your hand, kick your butt, get you back on track. There's no better way to learn because then it's smooth sailing when life decides to give us those moments.
Right. And it's like you just said, vacation, even the good moments,
Yep.
they're still can be unpredictable and very kind of stressful, even in a good way. And taking a lot of time and energy, even though it's all good stuff and you're looking forward to it, like, vacations and traveling and all those things. So it really helps just to help you guide through all that equally as chaos.
As life does its thing. All right, last question and my favorite question. I'm going to put you in the coach's chair for a second. I want you to pretend that instead of talking to Rachel on the other side of the Zoom,
Yes.
I am kind of like pre-ignite Tracy. I've been promised the world, no one's delivered. I've spent cash, I've spent energy, I've spent heartache being promised the world and nothing's worked. And now I find this MindStrong company. It's kind of making sense, but man, oh man, am I skeptical. What do you, Coach Tracy, say to scared pre-ignite Rachel?
Oh, goodness. I say, please, please, please give it a try.
Mm,
I know there's a lot out there. The internet is valuable, but it's also invaluable. There's just too many resources out there that can really guide you down paths that are not going to serve you well. And this program, the golden ticket of it is that you will learn a skill. And that is something nobody can ever take away from you. It's not, I forever have to buy this supplement. I forever have to be in this monthly program that I have to continue to spend hundreds of dollars. I mean, if you don't want to, if you just want to, go and learn and pass it on. I am so excited. I have nieces and a daughter and friends who have daughters, and to give them this
mm,
information and pass it on to them, I feel is hugely invaluable. And so I would tell Rachel, who's thinking about doing this, if you are even on the fence for yourself, do it for if you have young women in your life so that they don't have to go down this road of just trying to hit targets and figure out what's going on, and to learn this at an earlier age so that when they do enter menopause, hopefully they can go through it so much easier and without all the hoops and everything that we've had to jump through. And I feel like being a product of a teenager in the 80s,
yes.
I think that
Yes.
all that we have gone through these last decades did not serve us well. And so now hopefully we can make a change. And I feel like what MindStrong does is it is on the cusp of a new mindset,
Mm,
a new way of looking at your food and your nutrition and things that will serve your body and your family. So that's it. That would be my biggest thing. If you're on the fence for yourself, I know we know there's all these things, and is this just one more thing that I'm gonna try? And I would promise them that it will work and it will be something that you can pass on, which is invaluable.
nothing better. Oh, that my heart is doing backflips right now. We had a recent Ignite alum who called it generational health. She said, everyone talks about generational wealth. We should be talking about generational health. And that,
Absolutely.
everything we do here, that's what lights me up. Like, this is how we revolutionize the diet industry is by mastering the skill and teaching it to our daughters, our granddaughters, our nieces, our nephews, and saying, look, it doesn't have to be that complicated. You're going to learn to ride a bike probably in your childhood. Let me teach you nutrition as a skill, and you have that tool now.
Yes,
I love it.
absolutely.
You nailed our marketing. My joke that's not a joke is I have the worst sales pitch in the world because you only need me once. Like, try to fall off that bike if you know how to ride. It's pretty hard to do. And once you've mastered the skill of nutrition, that's it.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Tracy, thank you so much. I know there are so many women watching this or going to watch this who are just like hands in the air. Hallelujah. You have given me hope. So thank you for giving so many women that hope.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for figuring this all out for us.